Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more of the Great War, and we are on to week 168, Operation Albion. Passchendaele drowns in mud. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Okay, it's finally cold enough that I can bring back the hoodie, so let's go. Or well, I can bring it back comfortably. Now, when I used to record, before in the olden days, actually, well, really kind of just before this year, I used to just like record with the hoodie on like year round, even during the summer. I'd turn on my AC so that it was cold enough because insecurities. Progress, people. We've made progress. Now, only wearing it now that it's cold as shit. It's freezing. It was like 80 degrees Thursday, and then Friday, it dropped to like 42 where I live. And today, right now, we are sitting at a nice, warm 49 degrees. But it's sunny out, so actually, it's probably not too bad outside. But inside, I'm cold as fuck. Why am I telling you this? I don't know. Anyways, so there were a lot of you that left comments talking about you actually really want me to watch the World War II series. Now, I cannot make promises because I simply do not see I that is still super far into the future. Um, however, um, and especially with the slow growth of this channel, unlike for some reason YouTube does not recommend my videos, unlike the other historian reaction channels. I don't know what it is, what I did to piss them off. YouTube just does not recommend me. Maybe once in a blue moon, YouTube will recommend me. That happened earlier this summer with the uh, potential history Girls on Panzer series. Um, but more often than not, YouTube does not recommend me at all. Like YouTube did not push out my dogs are barking. That's fantastic. Love it. Anyways, um, YouTube does not recommend me like at all. Like the last salmonella, um, the last new salmonella video, Zhang Zhong Zhang, I think that was the name of it. Um, that video, that reaction got like did pretty bad in terms of like what I should like what is the expectation of a new salmonella video coming out, right? So yeah. Anyways, that was a tangent. But essentially, I want to say here is if y'all can get me to like 30,000 subscribers by the final episode of the Great War, I will get started right away on watching the World War II series. Um, like, I mean, get me to 30,000, like, it doesn't have to be like the day of that video like gets uploaded, the final video gets uploaded. Like, I'll give like a week's grace, right? So that kind of means that there may not be, it won't be started like right away, but like a week's grace to get to 30,000 at the end. Like we're almost at 10,000, so really just got to hit 20,000 in. Well, it's taken me how many years? How long have I been doing this? Did I start this in 2021 or 2020? I think I started this in 2020. Been here for 3 years, and we're almost at 10,000, and I'm saying get me 20,000 more by the end of the series. Not gonna happen, but you know, I need like that would be the I need a pretty big incentive to do a long ass series like that because even if it's more popular than this series is, um that's not necessarily going to translate also to more views on a reaction. Because I've had some videos that I've reacted to that have uh like the original video has 4 to 5 million views. I react to it and the reaction video maybe gets a couple thousand, not bad. But then, I'll have a video that's like the original video only has like 1 million to 2 million views. It's in that range. And that one gets like 10,000. Um, so it really depends upon how the YouTube algorithm wants to treat it. That was a 6-minute rant about shit that's really not in my control at all. So let's dive in.
The Allies had been gaining ground in the West the past couple of weeks, but this week they'll relearn the perennial autumn lesson of the war. You can fight in the cold, you can fight in the heat, but you just can't fight in the mud.
You would think the French would be well aware of that after Agincourt. Fighting in the mud, dude, no matter what.
I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War. Last week, the Allies were so successful at Blutsende that...
And then the Germans forget about that when they invade Russia in World War II. You can't fight in the fucking mud.
German High Command was rethinking its entire defensive strategy. Offensively, though, the Germans were planning a new offensive to the northeast against the crumbling Russian army. There was skirmishing on the Italian front and sabotage on the Hejaz Railway, the Ottomans' vital supply link. And that German offensive, a real amphibious operation, began near the end of this week. It was an attack and an invasion attempt on the islands in the Gulf of Riga. On the 10th, they bombed Russian transports at the south end of Oezel Island, and the next day made a combined naval and military landing. The Russian coastal batteries were destroyed. On the 12th, they land at the island Daga. An attempt to capture the pier on Moon Island is repulsed. This operation, known as Operation Albion, will kick into high gear next week. And Russia will certainly have its hands full resisting it. On the 6th, a Russian railway strike began, with over 1 million men leaving their posts, so moving troops to the front was now impossible. And anyway, the situation at home in Petrograd, the capital, was still deteriorating. Leon Trotsky had been elected chairman of the Petrograd...
He really does have psychotic-looking eyes. Like, well, he got the crazy eyes. Look at those. He a little crazy.
Soviet. Lenin was still lying low in Finland. Back when the February Revolution...
Wait a minute. Is that Lenin?
Soviet. Lenin...
No. Is that the right picture? I don't look like him. What?
Lenin was still lying low in Finland.
Huh?
Back when the February Revolution had happened, Trotsky, too, had been living abroad in the Bronx, but had returned to Russia to cast his lot with the Bolsheviks. By now, he was becoming the public face of Bolshevik leadership. Apparently, he was a real fire and brimstone speaker, too. This man, Trotsky, is the king of agitators. He could stir up trouble in a cemetery. That was a quote from Leighton Rogers, a New York bank employee stationed just now in Petrograd. And he also paraphrased some of Trotsky's talk in his diaries. Comrades, in a few weeks, a week, a few days, we are going to rise from our slavery. You may be free men as the revolution meant you to be. You must support the Soviet because we shall give you first, peace, second, bread, and third, land. Yes, we shall take all the land from the rich and divide it among the peasants, and we shall reduce the hours of work, my comrades of the factories, to 4, at double the wages you now receive.
4 hours a day? Like, what do you mean? Trotsky, we're still trying to get that. Hell, we're trying to get it to... Man, I'm going to start on an economic rant. The amount of money that the world has and the amount of productivity humanity has become capable of, we have the wealth possible to literally get rid of all of our struggles of food insecurity and and housing insecurity. We have the money. And we would only need, we could also go down to, like, honestly, the amount of money that the wealthy have, that the 1% have, we could, I believe, go down to 3-day work weeks, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, no problem. You get paid, like, enough, like, good money, livable wage, and just have to work 3 days a week. We could feasibly do that with the amount of money that the 1% have that they greedily hold on to. You cannot say otherwise. Like, oh, it is. They're literally, they are. I don't understand the thought process of the rich and holding on to the wealth like this. Like, all you're doing is creating people to hate you. Like, you're just screwing yourself long term for short term gains that don't mean anything at the end of the day. Like, help people. What the fuck?
Pie in the sky kind of stuff, but it couldn't help but have a real appeal in light of the daily situation in the city at the time. Domestic electricity was reduced to just the hours between 6 p.m. and midnight. And since the streetlights were not lit because of the worry of Zeppelin raids, and since the whole city was starving, there was a huge rise in robbery, rape, and murder in the dark of night. In fact, people were frequently stabbed and killed for not turning their valuables over quickly enough. Food supplies from outside the city were disrupted because the trains carrying them were attacked and plundered. And in the countryside, particularly in the south, it was total chaos, with peasants ransacking country estates and killing the landlords.
Let's fucking go. We should bring that back.
The German offensive against Russia was just beginning.
And by the way, I got flack for saying landlords, landowners, landlords, in like a previous video. I can't remember what the fuck the video is. Y'all, use your brains. It's called contextual awareness of what I am talking about. Obviously, when I say landowners and stuff like that, I am not meaning the single families that just own one home. I'm talking about the bitches that rent out property. Fuck the people that buy property just to rent it out to struggling families. Because they have no choice but to have to pay rent. Because the people in power continue to fuck them over. I'm not meaning people that own just one home and they actually live in it. I'm talking about the wealthy people. And I don't care if you have to take out a mortgage and you still become a landlord. You're still a piece of shit. You're still rich because you were able to take out a mortgage and use that mortgage money just to buy another property. You're a piece of shit. I don't like you. You're a fucking twat. I've never used that. I couldn't think of an insult. I couldn't think of more insults. Yeah.
But the British won against the Germans in Belgium. The Battle of Passchendaele was now in its third month. On the 9th, it was renewed, though rains were by now turning Flanders into something of a shallow, muddy lake. The lead role moving forward would be troops from the Dominions, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But the state of the battlefield made fighting not just difficult, but impossible. Artillery could quite simply not be moved. It couldn't even be set firmly in place. Some big guns sank out of sight in the mud. An entire light railway sank out of sight in the mud. They tried bringing artillery shells forward on pack mules, but many of them too sank and drowned in the mud. Even had the shells gotten to the front, it wouldn't have made all that much difference anyhow, since the mud beneath the water was too soft to activate their fuses, so they too sank and disappeared. In the center, some Anzac troops, Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, did miraculously manage to fight their way forward, but this exposed them to machine gun fire from 3 directions instead of 1, and they had to withdraw to the starting point, leaving the wounded to disappear in the bog. But even though the attack the 9th was a disaster, the attack plan for the 12th would still go forward as planned. I'll quote Nick Lloyd here from Passchendaele, A New History. The attack on October 12th should never have gone ahead. While Haig and his commanders could perhaps be forgiven for ordering their divisions forward on October 9th, there was no excuse for trying again just 72 hours later. Haig, though, was as optimistic as ever. John Monash, commander of the 3rd Australian Division, which would make the main assault, was not enamored of the job ahead of him. On the 11th, he pleaded for a delay, but to no avail. General Johnston, artillery commander of the New Zealand division, had so much difficulty getting equipment moved around that same day he said straight out that an artillery attack could not be guaranteed for tomorrow. It's interesting to think about where General Sir Herbert Plumer fit into all of this, the guy whose Second Army has seen success the past few weeks. When he began his program of limited offensives September 20th, it was a plan with attacks every 6 days, and now they were down to just 3 days. Haig was now abandoning Plumer's bite-and-hold tactics and once again looking for the big breakthrough. Why did Plumer not literally stick to his guns here on his need for adequate preparation and planning? I really don't know, and he didn't leave behind memoirs, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyhow,
I have no
the
predictions.
attacks
I have
on
no
October
guesses.
12th failed by a combination of exhausted infantry, terrible terrain, weak artillery support, and strong German defenses.
Actually, you know what? Maybe he was just tired of arguing, and he was just like, fine, whatever, I'm done, I give up. Maybe honestly, that could be it with having to constantly have to deal with Sir Douglas Haig. I'd have given up probably sooner with arguing with him and just been like, okay. But I probably would have quit. I would have been like, fuck off, and I'm out.
Communications constantly broke down, and pigeons couldn't even fly
Oh, look at those lovely British teeth there.
against the harsh winds. Second Anzac Corps
Oh man, that's the one thing I don't think I could like going back in the past, living with especially like with the lack of modern medicine and anesthetics. I don't think I could because like you know, obviously food back then was different where dental care wasn't the dental care that we need today wasn't as necessary as it was back then in most cases because of the type of food that we ate, less processed and sugary foods back then. So we actually ate foods that were better for our teeth. But like, you know, let's say something happens and you do need a tooth pulled or something, or your mouth isn't big enough for your wisdom teeth. Yeah. Huh. Now I've heard actually that like people back then, the foods that they ate actually wore down the teeth better, so that there would be room for the wisdom teeth. I don't know how true that is. I saw that on the internet because I was looking it up. I was just curious one day about that question. This is a complete side tangent that has nothing to do with this video, all because I saw that soldier's horrible teeth. I'm a weakling when it comes to my teeth. Like if I need oral work done, they need to inject me with like a local anesthetic, and sometimes they need to inject it like twice or like there was one time where for whatever reason I think it was one of my canines. It was very sensitive. It was because this is like I think the canines are a very sensitive spot, with nerve endings or something maybe. And so they had to inject me so many times. Now we ended up leaving this dentist as our dentist because this dentist was just horrible. And honestly, I think a lot of the time when they were telling me I needed fillings done, because there were like a cavity there, I think they were fucking just lying. I genuinely do. Like I think most of the cavities that I probably had were stuff that was actually gonna like go away or not get worse. It means they don't need like work done. All cavities don't always need work done. Sometimes they do go away. It just their size, their body, blah, 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 whatever. If they grow, then it's a problem, right? I think this person was just fucking bullshitting us just to get more money out of us. And it worked. Because I trusted an educated person. Anyways. Fucking they injected me so many times for to fill this canine. Or was it this one? It was one of these canines. On this side, on my left side of my face. Literally looked at me, they're like, we literally cannot give you more. I was like, fuck. It sucked.
Was tasked that day with taking the highest part of the ridge. Monash's division would take the actual village, and the New Zealanders on the left would take Bellevue Spur. In some places, orders called for an advance of nearly 3 kilometers across the swamp. The attack failed, and failed badly. Some of the bloodiest fighting of this or any other battle was at Bellevue Spur. The German 6th Jaeger Regiment held it, and their barbed wire had not been destroyed by the preliminary artillery barrage. Their combat report read in part, "Despite the heaviest of losses, the troops were in the best of spirits, due to the first-rate impact of their guns and in view of the colossal losses among the English." The day was a particularly great day for the machine guns. During the course of this day alone, more than 130,000 rounds of machine gun ammunition were delivered. All targets could be taken under continuous machine gun fire. Some of the machine guns fired up to 15,000 rounds. The effect of the machine guns was truly devastating for the enemy. The New Zealand division there suffered 3,000 casualties, the single worst day in New Zealand's military history.
Not huzzah.
I'll have another quote here from John Keegan about this battle and this week. "Even the most enthusiastic technical historians of the Great War, ever ready to highlight the overlooked significance of an improvement in the fusing of field artillery shells or range of trench mortars, concede that Haig should have stopped after Bloedzeinde. He determined adamantly otherwise." Having said that, the British War Cabinet finally began looking at the battle's total casualties October 11th. Now, you might think that they would look at the casualties compared with the ground gained and see whether Haig's promise of a breakthrough to the Belgian coast was still possible, but they didn't. In fact, on the 16th, they will send him congratulations for his continuous, persistent, and dogged advance of 4.5 miles in conditions of great difficulty. The Germans were also losing ground down in German East Africa. They retreated from the British in the Mbe Mukuru Valley, and after engaging Belgian troops northeast of Mahenge, the Belgians occupied Mahenge, the former German regional headquarters, on the 9th. And the week comes to an end, with Allied failures in the west, the beginnings of a German offensive in the east, Belgian successes in the south, and crime all over Russia. It wasn't just Russia that had food issues, though theirs were likely the worst. This week, France announced the worst harvest in 50 years, though the French distribution chain was still completely intact. Chaos in the Russian countryside, starvation in Petrograd causing murder and robbery to be commonplace, the government obviously unable to cope with it, and a magnetic speaker telling you that he'll give you a 4-hour workday for double wages comes along. Yeah, sure, I might believe him. I might believe in him. Desperation makes strange bedfellows. If you want to know more about the German...
And that was Operation Albion. Passchendaele drowns in mud. The Great War, week 168. Okay, so it was a 4-hour workday. Yeah, that's a bit hopeful. That's a tad bit hopeful for 1917. But, you know, sometimes hope is what you need. So that was the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.